For Top 3 Tuesday this week, Michael B. the Game Genie wanted to know 3 of our favorite games associated with comic books. And I've definitely got a response. I've been a comic book fan for years. I mean years. I read a lot of Green Lantern comic books back in the day. My father used to buy me Spider-Man. But the first comic book I ever bought myself was a Wolverine comic book, issue number 37 of the Blood and Claws Part 3. By far one of my favorite books. It's got some of my favorite art. Honestly, one of my dream items that I would love to have is actually a signed copy of Wolverine number 37. But I digress. The point of this video is to discuss Michael B. the Game Genie's Top 3 Tuesday topic. This week he wanted to know 3 of our favorite video games associated with comic books. So I had to think pretty hard about this because there's a lot that I could choose from. Believe it or not, whenever you really get down to it, there's a lot of games associated with comic books. So I had to really search my soul here, but I've definitely got an answer. So the first game I chose was it's a fairly new game, and it covered something that's I think is important to think about here. Comic books are a release, an escape, and you kind of get this fantasy in your mind of what if I was a superhero. But Injustice, Gods Among Us allowed you to, in some weird way, experience that. You got to fight as some of your favorite heroes and just work through some kind of imaginary scenario. You pit some of your favorite heroes against some of your favorite villains, and you could pit hero against hero, villain against villain. The combat was stellar. I was particularly fond of the little super moves that were akin to the breaks that were introduced, the X-ray moves that were introduced in Mortal Kombat 9. I fell in love with the game. I've certainly got my favorite characters to fight as, and I'm sure that if you've played it, you probably feel the same way. It was a very well done game, and I really look forward to part 2. I cannot wait to play as Swamp Thing. The next game I chose was difficult to finally decide on. As you know, a long time ago, I reviewed the arcade game Alien vs. Predator. Some people don't realize that Aliens vs. Predators is a comic book, but it came from the Dark Horse universe. I actually owned quite a few of those comic books, and somewhere I was trying to find them early, but I can't come across them. I came across all my other comic books, but I couldn't find my Predator comic books. I have like 5 or 6 of them at least that I still have. But Alien vs. Predator, I couldn't decide on which game associated with it that I wanted to. I recorded the arcade game years ago. I reviewed it, and it's a great game. It's a phenomenal game. I really wish there had been a home port true to the arcade game. But that's not the one I'm talking about. The one I'm talking about is the 2010 release of the first-person shooter. I was a big fan of the 1999 release. Huge fan. Which is why whenever this came out, I immediately got it. The thing about the first-person shooter version of Aliens vs. Predator is it gives you the option to be... You get to choose between one of 3 classes. You can obviously be an alien, you can be a predator, or you can be a marine. And different problems and powers and abilities come with whichever you choose. I am a huge fan of being a predator. There's something very empowering about being the predator. You have insanely powerful weapons and really cool abilities, like the ability, to be invisible and to use infrared vision and things like that. There's a lot of really nice perks to being a predator, but there's a lot of fun to be had in being an alien. And you can run up the walls and the crazy overkill moves you do, stabbing them, and it's great. And it's also fun to play as a Marine because the fear factor is there, and you kind of get to live the horror aspect of the franchise. It's a great game. I enjoy the Alien vs. Predator games, pretty much all of them, with the exception of maybe the Super Nintendo game. I'm not a huge fan of that, but that one in particular, I really do love doing it, and it's a good game. The last one I want to mention is one that I sank a lot of money into when it was in the arcades. And eventually, when it made its way home, I actually had the Sega Saturn version and the PlayStation 1 version, actually, at different points in life. The X-Men Children of the Atom. Some can argue that this is the genesis of the Marvel vs. Capcom series. I would venture to guess it probably is. If I'm not mistaken, it may be the first game of its type that came out. The draw here, right, it's just like the draw with Injustice. You get to be the hero you love. And for me, when I saw the attract mode, the arcade machine, and I got to see, I could be Wolverine, you know, and it's a great game. It's got good fighting mechanics, and a lot of those moves have carried over until today, you know, for the characters that happen to have stuck and stayed around throughout the series, all the way up to the Marvel vs. Capcom series. I just think that in terms of arcade fighting, man, it's a solid fighting game, and you get to be, you know, the X-Men. I think from that standpoint, it's definitely a winner. All right, guys, what about you? What are some of your favorite comic book related video games? If you want to share them in my comment section, great, but even better, head over to Mike's channel, check out the original video, leave a video response, or even leave a list. If you have no means of making a video response, at least share in the comment section. That's it. I'll catch you guys later.